They're not allowed. Calgary Varsity, followed by Calgary Fish Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. During my time with the Ministry of Energy, I learned lots about electricity and also about the potential of renewable energy. I'd like to ask this question of the Minister of Energy. How will your ministry create the conditions for greening of our electricity grid while at the same time not compromising the market-based electricity system that we have here in Alberta?
Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for the question. It's a great question, and certainly, Mr. Speaker, in our market energy-only system that is working very well for Albertans as well, Mr. Speaker, we've seen more than 45% of the province's electricity generation capacity comes from alternative and renewable energy sources. Mr. Speaker, we have been working and meeting with the stakeholders to make sure that they can, too, give us their input into this because, Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, it's important to hear from those stakeholders how they see we can continue to green the grid.
First supplemental.
Thank you. So we need to know more about incentives, but I'd like to talk a little bit more about cogeneration facilities. They provide 1/3 of our electricity here in Alberta. And I'm wondering how the alternative and renewable strategy will allow us to reach the full potential of cogeneration facilities for the benefit of consumers.
Honourable Minister of Energy.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I started saying in the last answer, we had the opportunity to bring stakeholders together this week in Calgary and to talk about not just cogeneration, to talk with wind, to talk with solar, to talk with all of those geothermal, and to hear their ideas, because certainly, Mr. Speaker, first time that whole group collectively have been brought into the room to really talk about that and hear the ideas of each other. So that's, Mr. Speaker, what we're doing right now. Under an energy-only market, how do we make sure that we add more alternative and renewables to the system, and we're hearing great ideas from them.
Final supplemental, honourable member.
Given that the minister is reaching out to industry stakeholders, one of the questions I have from my constituents is when they're going to be seeking public input, particular consumer input, into this framework.
Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, right now I'm listening to the stakeholders from the environmental groups, from the industry groups, from the wind, the solar, the geothermal, all of those groups to hear some ideas from them first. And after that, Mr. Speaker, then we'll go out and talk to Albertans. But first, what's important is those with the ideas, those that will do the investment in renewables from all sides, to be able to hear from them what kind of ideas do they have, so that when we do that, we come with a draft framework, we can actually talk about the things that they have told us.